Welcome to the podcast, everybody. This is the Nairobi Health Show with Dave Sherwin, and today I have Lillian So. Lillian, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the So method. I'm excited to get into that. But before we do, Lillian, let me read everyone your bio so they have a feel for who you are.
Great.
Okay, so Lillian calls herself a facilitator of transformation. Not only is she a fitness professional, yoga therapist, and life coach, she is certified in a dozen fitness and mind-body modalities, has been trained in Jungian psychology at the International School of Analytical Psychology, Zurich, that's a mouthful, in nonviolent communication. And she combines that into a coaching program where she offers psychological safety, group facilitation, and compassionate communication. And as I mentioned, has become the founder of SOfit and the So method. And so, Lillian, thanks for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. And I've read your bio, but of course, now we want to get to know you a little more personally. So why don't you summarize for us what brought you to be interested in this field and be doing the things that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, been a long-winded career journey, almost of 20 plus years at this point now. But, I always start with the origin story, which I won't fill in all the details, but it really starts with my childhood. Being a daughter of Korean immigrant parents, in Asian culture, they're very, how do I say, very blunt and very hypercritical about a lot of things, right? Your appearance, what you're doing with your life, how you show up in the world. They're very, very concerned with, optics and how you show up and things like that. And so, throughout most of my life as a young child, I had extended family members, not so much my immediate family members, like not so much my parents, but it was always immediate family members that were always very concerned about, like, oh my gosh, why she's so big? Why she's such a tomboy? She's so loud. She's so this. I was just kind of born like not like this typical tiny little Asian thing, and so I think a lot of my extended family members were very, very thrown off by that and very concerned. And I say it in air quotes because I think it's actually kind of funny. There was really nothing to be concerned about, but I think for them they were so concerned. So
I'm laughing here because we have very good Korean friends, Vince and Julia, and we hear these stories all the time. And they go back to Korea a lot because her mother is ailing at the moment, and he says, he goes, I go back there and I see someone, and before they even say hi, they say, "Oh, you look fat."
Exactly.
And so we hear these stories from them, and of course, wonderful stories as well. They're not all negative, but this issue, yeah, of course. But the issues you're talking about, the bluntness, the frankness, in some ways it's refreshing, but in some ways, especially to a young person, I can see it being a challenge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it's funny because I just went home for Christmas and I'm not even joking you. As soon as I saw my dad, who I have not seen since winter of 2019 because of the pandemic, he was like, oh, Lily, you're home. And then he kind of looks at me up and down. And I mean, I was wearing very baggy clothes and whatever, and yeah, I've put on a little bit of COVID weight, like for sure, but it's like nothing alarming, But as soon as he saw me, he was like, oh, Lily, he's like, oh my God, what happened? He was so concerned. I was like, what? And he's like, he's like, you gained so much weight. And I was like, I did. And then my mom's like, stop it. She's like hitting him already. She's like, she just got here. You haven't seen her in 2 years. Like, my God, like let her like drop off her bags and like settle in and have a drink of water before you start like criticizing her, and I just laugh about it, at this point, because it's like, oh, I get it. I know. I'm a little plump in the face these days. I've been sitting at my desk, drinking coffee and, eating holiday cookies. I get it, but it is funny, and so that was really kind of where a lot of my interests in fitness and wellness and dieting and nutrition, it started at such an early age because I was hearing these criticisms from a very, very young age, So that's kind of where it all started. And then it obviously evolved into lots of different avenues from there. But that's actually kind of like the original or origin story.
Okay. And so from there, you took an interest in health like right out of high school or in college?
Yeah.
Or when did your direction into health start?
Right. So, I mean, because of all these criticisms, I started really getting into wanting to fix myself at a very early age, right? So I got really interested in dieting and nutrition and reading all these like health and shape magazines. I mean, like prepubescent, like I'm talking like 9, 10 years
Oh,
old.
wow.
Started a little too young in some ways, I don't know even what that means actually, I guess, but like, I guess like by like normal, like what you would expect, society standards is like, oh wow, like, she's barely hit puberty and she's already reading Shape magazines, trying to figure out how to like lose weight. And like, I was very conscious,
Right.
self-conscious of these things at a very young age. So yeah, so I started in fitness, very early as a way to fix myself. And I did go down a couple dark rabbit holes very early in my life, including like eating disorder stuff, stuff that probably wasn't really the most ideal and most healthy at a very early age. And that's kind of where a lot of that stuff started. But eventually, that started to take a healthier and healthier and healthier turn as I got older, as I got into high school, as I got into college. With high school, it took a healthier turn for me as I started playing sports, right? Because then it became more about performance. Then it became more about, performance and, doing better. It became less about dieting and it became less about losing weight. And it became more about like, oh, I can actually work out to get stronger, faster. I can actually like eat nutrition as a way for me to perform better. So that started taking a little bit of a healthier turn. And then that is what led me to wanting to actually study it and create a career out of it. And like really realizing very early on that so many people were doing it for a lot of the wrong reasons, like I did. I started in fitness for a lot of the wrong reasons because I thought there was something wrong with me. And it led me down a lot of unhealthy patterns, like, a lot of eating disorder stuff and whatnot. And that started to take a turn more towards performance and then eventually into lifestyle, which then, led me down a career in fitness. And then from there, it started to evolve into various other things as well, including, healing modalities and personal development and all of that good stuff.
And you got multiple certifications and you have a degree and all that. And through all that, you've developed methods. Now, generally speaking, what I find with people who've developed methods or wrote a book or just popular on podcasts or anything like that is that they found something wrong or they found a problem that had to be fixed.
Right.
And so it's rare that they found like some new super cool thing that no one ever heard of. I find oftentimes they found that there's something wrong and they have a solution for a problem. Was that true with you? Was there, through all this research, you just discovered, hey, here's a place where I think something's broken that I can fix with people?
Absolutely. I mean, even when I was deep in my fitness career and I started at such a young age, I mean, I was working in gyms when I was still in high school and a teenager, as soon as it was, legal for you to make a paycheck, basically. And, and as I started doing fitness and teaching and personal training and teaching group fitness and all that stuff, very early on, I noticed in my career, it's like, look, like, diet and exercise is not the only answer. People are really struggling with a lot of like, they're struggling with a lot of insecurities. There's a lot of emotional baggage happening. A lot of the reasons why people have so many dysfunctional relationships with food and exercise not getting in their body is so very conditioned. And there's a lot of emotional baggage happening there, just like me, right? And so as I was going deeper into my fitness career in my early 20s, this is where I started to realize like, wow, people not only need help with exercise and nutrition, but they also need help in their mental health. They also need help in articulating their feelings and, really understanding what else is going on under the hood, beyond just exercise and nutrition. And that was what started getting me more interested in psychology, in, neuroscience. It started getting me interested in all of these other things because I wanted to kind of understand a little bit more behind like the behavioral aspects, like the whys, right? Why are people eating this way? Why are people, going back to coping with food? Why do people get so obsessive? Why do people get so extreme in one way or another? And that started getting me a lot more interested in the emotional components, the mental components, which then led me down, to wanting to understand more about mind, body, and things like that. So yes, absolutely. I realized that it wasn't just about exercise and nutrition anymore, but there was a lot of other mental, emotional factors that were going on as well. And then I started to notice, we can I don't want to keep rambling here, and then I started to notice what was wrong, quote unquote wrong with lots of different, as I went through different industries, right? Like in the fitness industry, I felt like there wasn't enough of the mental emotional component. Then when I did start to get more into the mind body industries like yoga and the healing industries, I realized that there wasn't enough emphasis on the basics and actually moving your body and nutrition. It gets a little too woo. It gets a little too spiritual and a little too emotionally focused, when you go into all these different industries. And so I realized, I'm like, no, we actually need all of these things. That is the missing link. The missing link is that it's not just one solution and it's not just one aspect, but we really have to pull in a little bit of everything from everywhere so that we can come to wholeness, health, and reach our full potential. And that was kind of what was wrong or missing from all the different industries as I was along my path.
Yeah. So then, of course, the problem becomes, as a professional, you can't really hang up a shingle that says fitness, nutrition, spiritual guidance, overcome your disorders, all of it right here. You're the solution to life, the universe, and everything, right?
Exactly. Yes. It's like, how do you explain that to people?
So what then? What did you put together? And did you morph out of the fitness industry into more life coaching, or tell us what you did?
Yeah. So basically, as I was in the fitness industry and realizing that there was a lot of stuff missing there, that's when I went and started studying more of the mind body stuff. I got into understanding the mind body connection. I went deep down a rabbit hole around yoga, became a yoga therapist, started getting more into all the, like I said, neuroscience and psychology and all those other things. And then I was just left with a bunch of stuff, right? With a bunch of knowledge and information. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, like, how do I put all this together? I'm like, the fitness industry needs more yoga. The yoga needs more fitness. They both need more psychology. They both need more mindset. Like, it's like, oh my God, how do I put all these things together? So it was very overwhelming for a long time, a little over 10 years ago. When I realized that everything needs to come together, I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to put this all together and create a one-stop shop, basically? And that is what I call myself now. I'm a one-stop shop. Like, whatever you want to transform, I can help get you there. But how do you, there's no label for that, right? There's no there's no, I mean, there is, there's more and more of that, right? Like, the holistic psychology exists, right? Functional medicine, right? Holistic health, like more and more of these things exist, but even that still felt like, it's just not quite complete. So I really just started taking action. This is what I teach my clients too. It's like, I just started doing it. So I started by creating my company, SOfit. And the tagline for that, which was over 10 years ago now, was, you are as fit as you are physically, you are as physically fit as you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And that was kind of like the tagline for that, And so what I did was I tricked people into self-development and healing through fitness. So a lot of times people would come and they would find me because they wanted to lose weight or they wanted to get fit. But I always let them know, it's like, look, if you're going to come on board with me as a client, if you want to work with me, the reason why you're going to lose weight, the reason why you're going to get fit is not only because we're going to do exercise and nutrition, but it's also going to be because we look at what's stressing you out. We're going to look at your emotional baggage. We're going to teach you how to communicate. We're going to address, where you're not setting boundaries and where you're falling into, dysfunctional patterns over and over again. And, sometimes people would be like, I don't really know if I want all that. Like, I just want to get ready for a wedding. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Well, if that's what you want, then you're not the client for me. And I'll refer you to someone else that's an expert at wedding fitness or whatever, And so more and more people over time were like, actually, that's what I want. That resonates with me. I want something that's more holistic. I want something that's more complete. So from there, I was able to take on clients that wanted that, like old school word of mouth started spreading. Oh yeah, like I've got this person, I don't really know what to call her, but like I started working with her because I wanted to get fit, but then she's also like helped me improve my relationships, and I got a promotion at work, and I think it's because I'm just getting confident all around, and she's like helping me with my mindset. And so like this is kind of like how it all started to come together around a decade ago. And over time, over the months and years and years and months, I started developing more of a process. I started developing now a 5-pillar process, which is now called the So method. So it's been a natural progression of just showing up and just, telling people like, hey, I'll help you get these results. But like, just so you know, I also am not going to do it in this kind of traditional way. I'm going to do it in kind of these maybe alternative ways, and even ways that you might think are a little out there, a little kooky. And the more and more people said, okay, I'll try it. Yes. It just kind of started to evolve from there.
So what are the 5 pillars?
So the 5 pillars of my method now is, again, I started my career in fitness. So that biology is the first pillar. So that is the foundation, right? We are biological beings. We have a heart that beats. We have cells. We have organs. So biology always wins. So first pillar, biology. We got to take care of that. The second pillar is our programming. It's what's up here in our minds, how we've been raised, what we've been taught, all of our belief systems. That shapes the way that we think and the way that we behave and the decisions that we make, for better and worse. So we have to address programming, right? And I'm sure you've heard of limiting beliefs and things like that. So that we address all those things there. So then the third pillar is your inner compass. Your inner compass is what guides you, your intuition, listening to your gut, following that voice inside that says, I don't know about this, or, you know what, like I've always wanted to try this. You should do it. You know what, let's just go for it. I don't know about this job anymore. Like maybe it's time now to finally go after that dream. That's your inner compass. So many of us don't listen to that inner compass, which is why we stay at dead end jobs. We stay in relationships for a little too long, even though they're not really great for us. And so I teach people how to really listen to and dial in their inner compass. The fourth pillar is communication, because so many of us are out here burned out, not getting what we want because we're not setting boundaries. We're not advocating for ourselves. We don't even know how to articulate what we feel and what we need to begin with, which is the reason why people are out here people pleasing and just taking on projects even though they don't want to. They don't know how to say no. So communication is the fourth pillar. And then manifesting is the fifth pillar, because we hear, depending on what you're into, right? You may hear like, oh yeah, life is your design, you can attract whatever you want, etc. I'm not really so much like a law of attraction person per se, but I do genuinely believe that life is your design. And, we are in a lot more control of our destiny and, where we're going with our lives than we may realize. And so I really teach my clients how to actually manifest the things that they want in their life as well. But the thing is, we have to have all of these parts moving together, right? We have to be taking care of our biology. We have to get into a right headspace. We have to learn how to listen to our guts, be able to speak up for ourselves, and then truly believe that what we want is, totally possible for us. So those are the 5 pillars of the So method.
Those are solid. I like that.
Very, very complete system. And it's a lot, right? It's a lot of things. Those are all the things that we need, but all the things that we need to kind of work on to reach our fullest happiness and health and potential. But it's kind of hard. Like, how do you do all those things at once, right? I mean, unless you're like, a celebrity or, someone that's really, really well resourced, you don't know about those things, right? How many people have a personal trainer and a therapist and a coach and a communications, person healer by their side, to teach them all of these things? And a lot of times, if you're working with multiple people, they're pulling you in so many different directions. Everyone's got a different opinion and school of thought. And so what we do, inside of my ecosystem is we just put everything in one place so that everything kind of works together and syncs up together, and everything is connected in a very seamless way. So, and it works. And
you've written a book, right?
And that's all in, well, a lot of that stuff is inside the book. I mean, so my book, So Empowered, is basically, it teaches you not the So method per se, because the So method, the 5 pillars is how you take care of all of yourself and reach your full potential. But So empowered is actually on the very, very first lesson that's inside of my programs,
Okay.
which is on the 5 layers of the body. And so in So empowered, I teach you like, hey, you're not just a physical body, but you have energy, you have thoughts and feelings, you have a deep wisdom that guides you, and you also have a bliss center, something that drives you towards your happiness all the time. So in the book, we talk about how to take care of those 5 layers of the body. And then in the So method, we teach you how to now take care of your 5 pillars as well. So 5 layers, 5 pillars. It's a lot.
And yeah, and you talk about the never-ending to-do list. And how did that come into play? Did you just find that a lot of people, their head was just full of busy thoughts and that were keeping them from doing the things they need to do? Tell me about this never-ending to-do list
Yeah,
concept
I
that
mean,
you teach.
absolutely. I mean, my clients in particular, they're all high achievers. Actually, I consider them overachievers, anxious overachievers, actually. I love them, and they're the reliable ones, the dependable ones. They always get everything done. They're the ones that everybody calls when they need something. And because of that, because they're such high achievers, because they're so reliable and dependable, there's a never ending to do list. Not only do they have to take care of themselves, but they also have to take care of their parents and their family and their siblings and their friends.
Okay.
And they're always the ones that everyone can call on. And so, there is this never ending to do list because of that. It can be very, very, and it can be very, you know, without taking care of themselves first, the never ending to-do list takes over. And next thing you know, they're burned out and they're feeling lost and they don't even realize it because they've just been pulled in so many directions for so long. And so this is why, once again, once we start taking care of the 5 layers of the body using the 5 pillars, they can start to realize what's actually important. And the to-do list may still be never ending, but it feels less overwhelming and you're not really burned out anymore from it either. You can get to everything in a way that's sustainable and still fulfilling.
And then you also talk about reflection and getting your clients to reflect. And when you use the word reflection, is it like meditation? Or talk to us about how you would teach a client to use reflection to help in this method.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe reflection is everything to growth and development, right? If you don't actually look back on what has happened, all of it, right? Whether it's the things that went wrong and the things that went right, all of it, right? The highs and lows, without reflecting on, what you've gone through, how you've succeeded, how maybe things didn't work out for you. How can you make adjustments? How can you keep, making tweaks and changes? And how can you know what's actually working or not working, right? Whether it's in your relationship, in the workplace, and so forth. And so I believe reflecting is such an important part, of success that most people don't take enough time to do. We're just constantly going to the next thing on that never ending to-do list without actually looking back and reflecting. So, I provide tons of prompts in my book. A lot of times people think reflecting is more like, dear diary, here's what happened, right? This is what I did. And this is, this
No.
is what, and then he said this, and then this, and then I felt this way. Well, it's not so simple like that. I mean, you actually do want to really, ask yourself a lot of questions. Like, not only, do you want to recount what happened, but you also want to ask, like, how did it make me feel? What needs did they fulfill? How is this helping me grow? How is this helping me not grow? How can I better set myself up for success the next time? How can I prevent myself from this pain the next time? What can I make sure that what are my lessons and takeaways from here? Without doing that, like, we're just kind of, I don't know, just on the hamster wheel of life.
And so is this kind of a daily thing you teach people, reflect daily or at the end of the week or like multiple times? You talked about triggers. What are some of those triggers as to when to, good times to reflect?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good time, I feel like there's, it's always a good time to reflect whenever you have the time for it. I spend a little bit of time, doing a little reflection in the morning. I do a little bit of time reflecting before I go to sleep at night. There's really, because the thing is, we're always bombarded with information all day long, stimulation, information, distractions. And so we got to kind of like clear the queue regularly, right? So we can keep a clear mind, so we have a lot of clarity and focus, for where we're trying to go. And so I think it's great to schedule in regular reflection, daily if you can, even if it's just simply reflecting on a high and low, which again, I talk about in this book. But another time for good reflection is, like you said, these triggers, right? And triggers are really anytime you feel a sensation. A sensation. So many of us are so disconnected from our feelings, we don't even realize when we feel anything, good or bad, or we think the only time we feel something is when we're angry and happy. But there's so many sensations and feelings that are happening all the time. So anytime you feel triggered, anytime you feel like you clenched up, or anytime you feel a wave of anxiety, or anytime you feel a nervous, butterfly in your stomach, like those are all good times to just pause for a second and ask yourself, what's going on right now? What am I feeling? What just happened? Like what do I need? Why am I feeling this way? Like, is there something that I need right now? Is there something that's going wrong? Is this an opportunity for growth, or an opportunity for me to do something differently right now? So anytime you feel sensation, I would say is basically a trigger. And we should be looking for sensational triggers, all the time, because it's all just information, moving in and out of our vessel.
Right. Interesting. Okay. There's another talking point you have on your media kit that I thought was really interesting. A powerful exercise that gives you a way to reframe your day from its highest and lowest points, which may be related to the reflection. I don't know. But what is the exercise that you're talking about there?
Yeah, so that's exactly, what we're talking about here in terms of, just kind of spending some time to, reflect on your day. I think a lot of times I'll hear people be like, "Oh my God, this is just I'm having a terrible day. I'm having a terrible day." And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, what do you mean? Like you're having a terrible day. It's like, we have moments. Our life is nothing but a series of continuous, constant moments, right? So, you mean you had a bad moment, you mean you had kind of a low point in your day, or, you're having a series of low points right now. You're kind of being handed a series of low points, and that happens. That's life. It's never, consistent. It's never perfect, and that's what makes life. And I think that's what keeps it interesting, and that's what gives us opportunities to keep growing and whatnot. And so rather than thinking of it as a good day or a bad day, or, oh my God, I'm going through such a hard time right now, instead it's like every day, has highs and lows. Some days there are no lows. Some days, there's, you can always, it's kind of like gratitude practice too, where you can always find a high point, even if you, let's say you wake up one day and you literally wake up to a text message that a loved one is in the hospital, or got diagnosed with, a fatal illness, or, maybe you find out that someone's passed away or something like that. Yeah, that already set, you wake up on the wrong foot, right? You wake up and you're like, oh man, this is already a bad day.
Yeah.
But rather than kind of being swallowed up by that, which really takes you out of your power, and can kind of send you into a spiral, instead you can think of like, wow, well, I really started my day with probably the lowest point possible. And so from here, rather than continuing to spiral from here and throw in the towel and just be like, oh my God, that was just a terrible day, and I'm just going to keep on having terrible days, it's like, okay, wow, well, today I started out with probably the lowest point. So, like, what can I do to take care of myself? Maybe the highest point of my day is just going out for a walk, or nourishing myself with a proper meal, or, connecting with, a sibling or a friend, about this terrible thing that happened. But I think if we can just look at our days, as having a series of, various highs and lows and everything in between, I feel like it can give us a lot of perspective and keep us from really getting into this trap of, getting into these traps of, bad days, and, my life sucks, or, I'm just going through a horrible time right now. And instead we can kind of look at everything, be a lot more present with it, and see everything as a series of moments, high points, low points, and everything in between. And some days we don't have any low points, which is pretty awesome too.
Yeah, but we all, we're all human.
Right.
And life really is what you said. It's like a stream. There's ups and downs. I think it's reality. And obviously, some people deal with it better than others. And sometimes we personally deal with it better than others. There's times when
Mm.
we're really on top of our game. We feel like we can conquer the world. And other times where we can't stop ourselves from eating that brownie, right? So it's life, and so
Totally.
I do totally track with you on the holistic picture, right? It's no good teaching that person to lose weight for the wedding if that's all they want. And
Sure.
as a coach, they're probably going to gain all that weight back after the wedding. And if they just had a little shift in mentality, they might realize, well, wait, how about if I just get ready for all future weddings with this one great coach, right? Don't we
Right.
wish we could just sometimes reach into people's heads and kind of turn those screws and help them to. I'm dealing with this a lot right now because we have a lot of weight loss customers right now. Had quite
Sure.
an influx recently, and so it can be really discouraging because we have people coming, oh, this is so great, I'm losing so much weight, yay me, and it's great, and we love that. And then the next person hops on and goes, it's not working for me at all. And
Mm.
that's super discouraging. They're doing the same thing. They're eating the same foods, taking the same supplements, doing the same fitness regime. And one of them is being successful and the other one is not, at least temporarily. And that's the things as a coach, we're trying to help them understand. Hey, and the person who is on cloud 9 right now might hit their plateau in 3 weeks. And the
Totally.
tables reverse. And so you deal with this as a coach all the time. This
Of
this
course.
issue of people, how do you deal with that? How do you help people to kind of get off of that human treadmill that we're all on at some point, right? How do you help them off of that and establish this trust in your 5 pillars to
Yeah,
adopt
I
this
mean,
as something?
hmm yeah, I think first things first, the biggest thing that I teach anyone, no matter what it is that their goal is, whether they're trying to, make more money in their job or lose weight or improve their relationships, results vary. Even if you're going through the same protocol, even if you're taking the same supplements or on the same plan or whatever, every body comes with so many different things, like different programming, different history and whatnot. And so I think like you said, this person that's on cloud line right now, they might hit a plateau in 3 weeks. Whereas, the person that's struggling right now may all of a sudden hit an avalanche of results 3 weeks from now. And I
Yeah.
think so to those folks, and even with my clients that, can sometimes get down on, because my clients will do that too. They'll be like, oh, well, I just feel like everyone else is having all these career wins and I'm still complaining about my job or whatever and what's going on and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I tell them, like, the number one thing that I tell them is keep showing up and trust the process. Show up, do the work, and trust the process. You got to keep showing up. And rather than being like, oh, this isn't working, right? Like you're literally negating, any progress that you're going to make just with your mindset alone. Instead, just keep showing up, keep doing the hard work. And then that third and final piece is you got to trust the process. You got to give yourself that chance and you got to trust the process. I mean, if you've hired a professional, if you have already surrendered, your money or your time or whatever, for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months to a professional or coach or whatever to, guide you towards a result that you want, you might as well just give that a proper go and just trust that process and trust it all the way to the end. And then, go from there, because I feel like so many of us, I know for me, what I notice is the clients who always get the best results are the ones that come in and they surrender. They're like a dog that rolls over on their back and they're like, take me away, take the wheel. Like I'll follow, like whatever you say, like I'm already in your hands. You already have my money. Like, let's just do it, and they really trust the process and they're just willing to just give it a go, for the next 60 days or 6 months or whatever. But it's the folks that come in and they're so attached to a certain kind of result. They're so attached to a certain kind of outcome and they want to see it right away. They're the ones that that have a lot more friction. You know, it just takes longer. It's almost like you're not letting go and letting the magic of this process take over. And so, you know, that's a tough one to kind of teach, right? Because how do you teach someone to let go? How do you teach someone to trust? You know, and it's a and part of it is, yes, we can coach them and you know, but you know, you can't really convince someone to trust the process. They have to choose to want to do that, and they have to choose to, you know, choose trust in that sense as well. So, you know, that's what I would say. It's like you gotta trust the process. If you've already invested, then, you know, just give it a go and just see what happens. Just relax, you know, show up, follow the process, and just trust that it will come. And you know, it might not happen right away. It might happen 30, 60 days from now. I've had so many clients throughout my career, you know, whether I was deep in the fitness industry or even now, you know, I have a lot of clients that come to me now wanting to lose weight as well, even though they know it's a holistic process. And, you know, the ones that lose the weight by accident, we always talk about accidental abs. We always talk about weight loss by accident. It's always the ones that just kind of blindly follow the process and they just trust it. They don't really like, they're not looking at the scale every other day. They're not really like, oh my God, is it working? Is it working? Is it working? They're not the ones doing that. The ones that are just like, yeah, they're just like, well, I already gave her my money. I'm here for the next 4 months. I'll just follow whatever Lillian says. She says to drink water every morning I get up. I'll do it. She says to do this. I'll do it. All right. She says to show up and do this workout today. All right. I'll do it. They're just like, whatever. She's the professional. And they're the ones. I mean, I've had clients in 4 months, in 16 weeks with me, lose 20 pounds, 25 pounds, 50 pounds. I've had someone lose on my program. And my program is not even a weight loss program, you know, per se.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it's the ones that come in not even looking for weight loss that end up losing the weight loss, that end up losing the weight. I mean, that's what's so crazy. And so yeah, I just feel like you got to just trust the process and let go. You know, if the more attached you are to a certain outcome, it's almost like you're holding yourself back, you know? So like, let go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. I can totally relate to that too for myself as well. I totally believe that. As a matter of fact, one of the big epiphanies of my life, which I didn't learn until I was well into my probably 40s, was about attachment to views. And I didn't even think about it. I was thoroughly attached to my views. I thought they were all correct, pretty much, right? And this concept that we could disassociate from our own views and that we could step back and that we could cling to things less. Because I've always been kind of an A personality go-getter, you know, and been highly confident in my abilities, even when they weren't very good, right?
I love that. That's great.
This is the kind of thing that you learn as you mature, right? Hey, maybe I should have been a little less confident about that. A little less attached to and that concept of non-attachment, I think, is really powerful, and you explained it really well, and that totally makes sense. Lillian, I got one more question, and you've talked about coming from a background where you kind of had some challenges and some criticism and things that affected you as a young person. And one of the things I found in the fitness industry is many people have some epiphany along the way, either from a mentor or a book or a podcast or whatever, where they pick up some life-changing thing that maybe kind of lifts them to a higher plateau and keeps them there for a long, long time. And I wonder if you have a personal experience like that, where someone or something or somebody or some book has had that effect on you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so my first book, which I actually dropped 2 books this year. It just worked out that way. It wasn't even like I was trying to be that person that was, you know, such an overachiever. It just worked out that way. Just, you know, the way that the prior agreements, the timeline, it worked out so that I ended up dropping 2 books this year. And my first book that I launched in September is called Fit CEO. And I co-wrote that. With my co-author. Her name is Rebecca, and she's a former CEO of Citibank. She was in the banking world for a long time. You know, she was CEO. I started out as her trainer like 8-9 years ago, and then eventually over time, you know, our relationship evolved as well, because, you know, she obviously knows, you know, I've gone on and, you know, done a lot of other things and so forth. But, you know, I've always been by her side as she's also very growth minded. And she wasn't like, oh, you're not just a personal trainer anymore. I don't want to see you anymore. Well, she was like, oh, wow, you're evolving. That's great. Let me evolve with you, you know? So it was amazing. So her and I co-wrote this book. It's called Fit CEO. And I actually talk about it in this book, but she is actually someone that, that gave me, 3 words that was so impactful for me that I never thought about before, but it applies to everything, especially in fitness, anything, you know, abundance, finances, whatever. I basically asked her for a piece of advice as this woman in banking, this successful woman in finance. She's a freaking CEO of a major, you know, I mean, Citibank. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? And so I was like, you know, what would you give me as biggest financial advice, you know, whatever. This is like 10 years ago. And she was like, oh, that's easy. Pay yourself first. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that was like, and I don't know why, but for whatever reason, when she said those 3 words, pay yourself first, everything clicked like fireworks for me, because that made so much sense of everything. It made so much sense financially, because that's what she was giving me, that advice as a financial advisor, right? But that made so much sense for me emotionally, mentally, energetically, and from a fitness and health perspective too, right?
Interesting.
If I don't pay myself first, and what she meant was pay yourself first, right? Put your money in your savings first, invest in yourself. But that's like everything, right? If I don't pay myself first, if I don't wake up and drink my water first, if I don't wake up and do my meditation first, do my gratitude journaling, if I don't do my exercises, if I don't take care of my health and fitness first, then everything else is going to fall apart anyways. So to me, that was such a simple but like profound like lesson for me that has applied to everything. And it has, and it's helped me. I remember that for everything. It's helped me literally become more successful financially, but it's also helped me never forget to take care of my health and wellness as well. Cause it's like, well, I mean, how am I going to lose weight if I don't do my exercises first? I can't put that off as the last thing. I can't go and take care of my business and take care of everything else first and then take care of my health if I want to lose weight. It's not going to happen. I have to prioritize that. I have to make that the first thing. Whatever my goal is, whatever it is that I want to you know, accomplish or succeed in my life, I have to go and handle that thing first. Duh. Such a no-brainer. If I want to become rich, I got to pay myself first. If I want to lose weight, I got to do my exercises first. It's like such a simple lesson that she gave me that has definitely helped change the trajectory of my life in many, many ways, for sure.
Fantastic. 3 words.
3 words. Yeah.
Changed your life.
Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Well, Lillian, it has been fantastic talking to you. And for people listening who want more Lillian in their life, how do they contact you?
Yeah, you can go, you know, straight to the website, SOmethod.com. SOmethod.com. Everything is in there. You can get my book there. You can book a call there. You can learn more about the So Method, all that stuff. You know, that's just the easiest one-stop shop place to go. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm very active on social media. So, you know, my Instagram handles are at SOfit SF. And or you can meet me or at meet Lillian. So I actually have 2 accounts because my Instagram, you know, social media, sometimes they lock you out and they give you problems. And so anyways, but easiest way, just go to the SOmethod.com and you'll find everything you need there.
The SOmethod.com. It's the SOmethod.com. So Lillian, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to talk to you. You've given us lots of great nuggets. And I'm just grateful you would take the time and come on the Nairobi Health Show. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And for all of you listening, this is Dave Sherwin wishing you health and success.